Yo guys, it's Tabo and we are back again. You missed us last week for the NPL minus power rankings. This is for week 4. Now the reason we didn't do week 3 last week is because both Richard and I were very busy, and in real life stuff just happens to get in the way sometimes. But it's only a 7-game season, so we shouldn't miss any more power rankings from now on. So this week, again, Richard is a bit busy. So I've hooked up with one of my friends, one of the minus coaches himself. Say hello, Dan.
AKA Mr. Turbo and Richard are shit. Nah, I'm just kidding. But what's going on, you guys of the NPL? Name's Dan, coach of the Rosa Borg.
Yeah, so we're going to be going through the games with Dan this week because I have my list, so that's the list you'll see on screen because we didn't get a list through from Richard this week, but that's fine. We'll be seeing Richard this week.
I was called in last second, so I don't have a list.
Yeah, Dan's just going off my expert opinion. But first of all, we'll kick this thing off because we want to make it a bit shorter because it's only like one list, so it might be a bit quicker, might be a nicer watch for you guys. So we're gonna kick off at number 16 now. Unfortunately, as much as I love the Rotterdam Star Raptors and Fries, there's got to be that man who's last. I love watching Fries content, but he just got 6-0'd by a far superior opponent. We're gonna be talking about Verd later on, and basically, the key thing in this game is, although Fries took my advice in the last power ranking video and got a Kofag in a trade and got a bit more bulk in his team, he just didn't have anything once his Nido King and his Charizard went down to kill Celesteela. And you could see that. A Work Ups the Raptor doing 55% to a Celesteela at +2 with a Brave Bird probably Reckless boosted. That's just no damage. It's just not. The trick play on the Latios was kind of good, but his matchup was dead. And sometimes that's just the way it goes. Unfortunately, he didn't have any way of stopping Verd from preserving differentials, so he did take that fat 6-0, and unfortunately for Fries, but it's just a learning curve for him, and I can see him getting a lot better as the season goes on and as a whole, and I think he'll do well in other leagues. What do you think, Dan, about this game?
This is no shot at anybody, but just a little comment, Fries. I just gotta say, we all had the meme in Ors, but I gotta rank your game 7.8 out of 10. You had too many substitutes, man. Too many.
Yeah, I do agree with that in some senses. There was when you're getting offensively pressed by a team and then losing 25% of your health and then having to roost it off, you're not really gaining anything. So, bit of an interesting play there. But that's sort of Fries this week. It's kind of self-explanatory. He's lost to one of the top players in the league. There's no shame in that. But he is developing as a player and he is getting better. So that's always a good thing.
This way too good.
Yeah. Next up, we have number 15. Now, we didn't see last week. You didn't see last week's video. So both the Scandinavian Stoutlands and the Bullet Punch Club both won last week. But in my opinion, watching those games, there are both scenarios where the other team should have won. So just to give you a quick summary, the Scandinavian Stoutlands played against a Registeel at the last minute, and I think he clicked his all-out pummeling too early. Oh no, he's playing against Kartana, and that Kartana pulled all out pummeling too early and then choked the game away. And then Uzi played against, I believe it was Fries, and Fries sacked off his win con, in my opinion, in the Latias, and allowed his Charizard to go down to rocks instead of getting rid of the rocks, and therefore Uzi wouldn't have been able to deal with that if he kept those two around. So in my opinion, although those two won and commendable to them this week, at number 15 for me this week is Uzi, because I believe out of the Scandinavians game and Uzi's game, Uzi played the worst out of the two.
Isn't it this week that the Scandinavian Stoutlands had a forfeit against the Montreal Absols though?
That is true. That's a bit awkward. But Uzi basically Uzi lost in game, whereas Scandinavian didn't actually have a chance to prove themselves against Asta.
So
Also,
wouldn't that just be meaning that the Scandinavian Stoutland should be one below? I'm just saying here. I'm stating my opinion here.
He's
a little mess up on the analysts' perspective here.
In Dan's opinion, which is an analyst's opinion, but I'm basically saying that Uzi should be down here because I'm kind of going off what I saw from last week as well. I was more impressed with Scandinavian's performance purely because of how much of on tilt he was compared to Uzi, who had all these expectations after winning the minors tournament. I think he's just not performing as he can. Again this week, I thought he was poor around rocks. He did not manage his Salamence very well at all. Again, he let his Electros get worn down really quickly, especially with a Mon that doesn't have reliable recovery. Same as Bronzong and Electros. If you're going to have a wall call with not reliable recovery, it's very important not to let them get worn down. And then his offensive threats being Salamence and Greninja and Heracross. Okay, he saved Heracross to the end, but it wasn't very effective. And then I don't see the sense in really bringing a Heracross when it matches up against an Arcanine, a team with an Arcanine, a Garchomp, and a Skarmory. 3 things that kind of hard wall it like really a lot. So I don't know. Eric used Mesprit really well against him, and I just don't believe that Uzi is playing to his potential. He has a problem with rocks, and he needs to sort out how he plays around them. He's got to start bringing removal or something, because people are bringing rocks, pressuring his team, and he's losing 25% on, 12.5% on switch-ins with mons that he needs to keep healthy, which don't have reliable recovery. But that's me thinking Uzi this week. Obviously, jumping on to number 14, Scandinavian didn't play this week. Forfeit loss to my boy Asta J. So I can't really talk about that game, but last week it was a commendable victory. So well done, Scandinavian. Keep on going. Unfortunately, you had to forfeit this week. I don't know about the circumstances, but it's probably busy. Richard's busy, so you get a bye too.
I think it was some sickness and some busyness stuff with work and some other stuff. Not exactly sure what was in the... Not 100% sure on the life matters of Skyrender, but it was something about him being sick and just not having time, or he couldn't push his body or anything to build a team for Aster to then have to play the match when he was where he was. But I also wanted to mention, because I feel like this is just my personal opinion towards you again, from a coach's perspective, gotta give credit on the even the low teams, give credit to not just throw, because I think on Uzi, there are a couple things that of course need to be worked with, like the effectiveness around rocks, but I feel like Uzi had he played somewhat of a very he played an okay match for the team that he brought, and I definitely think that in the future, for moving forwards, that Uzi is going to climb. I feel like he needs to get a better grip of his team and figure out what it does, and once he figures out what his team does well, he'll be able to shoot forward.
I completely agree with you. He just needs to sort of work around his team this week. Now, next up at number 13, we got the FC Poplio. Now, FC Poplio have sort of had a downward spike over the last couple of weeks. Haven't been doing too well. And I'm looking at his team, right? I'm looking at his matchup, and I'm like, okay, this guy's got a decent matchup versus Poke TCG Game, or one of the top teams in the league. He's got a decent matchup, he could do well. And then I see what 6 mons he brought, and I see the one on the top, and I just see Rufflet, and I'm like, Magic, what do you do? I know it's memes, right? But I think he actually had a chance in this game. If he brought something that could hit that Slowbro, especially offensive mon, that could hit Slowbro, I'm just going to quickly check his draft real quick, because I believe he has an electric type. I believe he has a decent electric type, because you really should. You really should. He
has a Roserade.
He has a Thundy T.
And a Thundy T.
He has a Thundy T that didn't make an appearance in this game.
And a Roserade.
And a Roserade. And a Roserade that didn't make an appearance in this game. Two things that can overcome a Slowbro. A Thundy T could also potentially beat Tornadus and Goluk and Slowbro and Zizor and Tarak and Corden. Thundy T 6 over the
Tarak is a questionable matchup due to the fact that Tarak is faster, has the rock coverage,
I mean, if
or
you're talking
rock
Scarf,
stab. I mean, then again, it's all a question of, is he Scarf?
Yeah, pretty much. So you could build around Thundy T this week and do really well.
Yeah, if the team was built around Thundy T and centered around that as a win con, then I think it would have done. I think that Dave would have done way better in the matchup. But just because, I guess I understand why he would look at a team and think that Thundy T doesn't have the safest matchup. When you think about all the other threats on Rob's team, considering the fact Nidoqueen, Spadefsis, or in some certain cases Hydreigon could be a huge threat as well, because then you have to rely on Focus Blast, which isn't reliable at all. Trust me, I know.
Agreed.
There's a Swallow, which outspeeds and can hit decently hard, surprisingly. For example, a Facade set. I don't know if that thing came into effect week 4 or something. I'm looking at the draft as it stands right now. There's also Ditto, which could be a threat opposing. If Rob got a hold of a weakened Thundurus, took over Thundurus and started taking that into effect against
that would kind of
David
nuke his team, but
exactly, so that's also a thing. Ditto is a very scary Pokemon for the sake of just what do I do? How do I make sure that Ditto doesn't reverse sweep me if I have a setup?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it was just a harsh sort of. I think it's just why Rufflet? Any other mon but Rufflet. I think that it just, we're looking at this obviously from a perspective of after the game. So obviously he had no idea what he was going to bring. I think defensive Slowbro was kind of a shoo-in in this game. I think it was it matched up pretty well against Magic's team. So I don't understand why, if he was prepared to bring Rush Driller with the threat of Ditto, I don't see why he wouldn't be prepared to bring Thundy T, because both of them wreck his team with Ditto around. So it could be a bit 50-50, but otherwise he didn't actually play too badly in the game. The Ghost DMZ Ghost DMZ Armor
Come
Lizard
on.
Komo was a really, really good bring, and it actually worked, killing the Golurk from almost full, which is awesome. Driller tried to salvage a win at the end, but it just didn't happen. Almo, again, I'm not too sure about how it fared in the matchup, but Rob, or Mini Rob, brought a really, really hyper offensive team, but we'll talk about Rob later on. Next up, we are going to be jumping into my next mon on the list, team on the
Ace
list.
of Base and the Anaheim Altarias.
Yeah, now that game was a bit interesting. Now Ace of Base and Magic have been sort of flirting between the two spaces on my list. I have a lot of lists on my list. A lot of teams like to jump around near each other. So you got the Scandinavian Bullet Punch and Rotterdam all like to flirt with each other's spaces. Populio, Anaheim, Toronto and Maine, or no, Toronto more like to flirt with their spaces. Then I've got the little group of AS Rowlett, Colorado, Kansas, Portland, that sort of group. And then we've got the top five, as everyone knows so far, with Dan and the others at the top. So at the moment, they're kind of flirting with their spaces. Again, Anaheim and Poplio are kind of sort of flirting between these two teams. Anaheim, I believe, is Foghorn,
I,
correct?
I'm genuinely surprised I'm still. Anaheim is actually Ace of Base,
Ace
but
of
I'm
Base,
still
that's my
genuinely
bad.
surprised I'm stuck at fifth with a 2-2 record.
Yeah, but I'll talk about that as it gets
We
along.
we take those.
Oh, we got the Anaheim team. Now, the Anaheim team was the ridiculously good sub Zapdos set, which just stalled Jar's team out. But if you watch Jar's video, I watch Jar's videos a lot. He does explain the first turn play with the Weavile drastically changes the game's result, basically, because he loses a Weavile off nothing. The Decidueye drops, and then also he doesn't switch in the Milotic, and he has a Weavile which can Icicle Crash a Zapdos instead of having to deal with it with Mons that can't break it,
You
like
know, the way that
Lati.
it didn't go down for.
Yeah, basically. So if Jared clicked what he initially says he was going to click in the video, the game could have gone a lot differently, which is probably why Anaheim is a bit lower than maybe they deserve to be. But then again, the Metagross set was very, very good. I liked the Metagross set. It basically stopped the bloody Golbat from stalling him out. The Zapdos set was bloody genius. Whatever those EVs were, they were gold. Toxic stall Zapdos, which is nice. And again, the
That was kind of
Milotic
clean.
was fat. Whatever that Milotic set was, taking that
I would
44% from a knockoff from an Adamant Weavile.
I'm assuming, like, taking into consideration the fact that it got burnt, I'm assuming it was a Flame Orb Marvel scale defensive build.
Yeah, Mac. I think it was like it did 33% from a knockoff, Adamant knockoff from a Weavile, which is ridiculous. I think it's banded as well. Like that, that's just ridiculous. But yeah, the builds were very good. Like the building for Anaheim was very, very good. I just think the play, I mean, if he knew that Milotic was going to take that well, I don't see why he didn't switch his Weavile on the first turn. But I don't know.
The game is unpredictable. Like, you don't know, considering the fact that it didn't get the free burn off from the U-turn into the Flame Orb activation.
Yeah.
He would have been a lot weaker. He wouldn't have gotten the burn off with the Flame Orb, and he would have been a lot less bulky.
Yeah,
So I perfectly understand why he didn't just hard swap into Milotic like he did, and why he chose to take the damage on Decidueye and then U-turn out, because he needed the Flame Orb activation if he wanted to get that bulk off.
Yeah, I do agree with that. But we can talk about Jar, because Jar is just rising the one place above him in the rankings. And now, obviously, we've sort of been talking about him already. That the fact that he said in the start of his video that he messed up this play, and it has a grand effect on what happens later on. And he's done that a couple of games now. The thing is, Jar's been kind of consistent in sort of ninth and below places in my rankings, because I know he's a good player and I know he's been playing somewhat to what his strengths are, but I think he can play better. I also don't like his team per se. I think that there's a few mons that, like Golbat plus Yuxi, is not ideal. I can tell it's not an ideal defensive core in a game, because the offensive presence from either of them is just non-existent.
I mean, I lived through a full season by using Cofagrigus and Cresselia together.
Yeah, that's pretty good actually. But I mean, again, they set up. Not these two don't even get set up. So I feel for Jar in that sense. But he is playing reasonably well with the team that he has. So I can't really fault him for that. He gets a bit unlucky in this game by losing or choking out his first time, kind of. But he managed to salvage it kind of well. But the Zapdos set, any other Zapdos set, he would have done a lot better in the end game. But
That freaking Zapdos,
That's the
man,
game.
that sub-toxic Roost and Thunderbolt, that was a interesting clean set.
Yeah, it was beautiful. But next up, Dan, do you want to start this one off? Because it's your game versus
Um,
Tone.
it's me versus Tone. I honestly don't know much to say about the game. When I walked into it, I'm just gonna take it from my thought and experience from this game, which honestly would have also worked later on in the match. But when I walked into this game, I've kind of been, as you guys have seen from my earlier matches now, the last 2 weeks, I kind of been on a slope after getting handed to me by both the Tampa Bay teams that have just destroyed me. But then again, it's to be expected. They're really good players. But one thing that surprised me, when I played Tone, was the lack of Zard X. I'm not sure what he was afraid of that brought like made sure that he didn't bring it. And then there was a couple things that kind of got put up. The defensive Crobat was kind of nice, and I will give credit to Tone for the Tail Glow Ancient Power Rocky MZ Manaphy. Even though I did have the counter, I had the slight suspicion he would bring it. If only I clicked Haze on the turn he Tail Glowed, because I had a feeling he would bring it, but I didn't go with my gut because I wanted to scout what he was. But I will admit that was a really, really nice set on Tone's part. It was really effective like it was a very nice way to make essentially a Manaphy counter not a Manaphy counter anymore, which I really, really liked. And other than that, I feel like I don't know. I feel like it was a bit weird. I managed to condition it to the point where Lopunny, a late game, could clean. I'm kind of upset that the fact that the Tyranitar set, the Scarf set, I kind of saw it coming. I'm just very unfortunate how, like on my case, of course, very unfortunate for me how it managed to knock out my Togekiss due to Sand, because I had +1 from Baton Pass Lopunny with Cosmic Power into Togekiss. And then Togekiss lived on like 5% after a Scarf Stonage from Tyranitar, and then I got knocked out because of Sandstorm. That was a sad moment. Another
Interesting.
thing that
Oh, cool.
I
Go on.
guess it was like your sack, I suppose, but switching the Conk directly into the Togekiss was something I was like, okay, that is one threat from my Lopunny just completely removed, which I'll take that.
Yeah, true. I mean, I watched the game. I actually mocked Dan for the game. I just found the team that I mocked him with. I actually beat him in the mock, and purely because I brought Zardex. I brought exactly the same team Tone did, um, but with Zardex instead of Celebi, and I think that's what lost him the game. Celebi, he wastes a turn setting up rocks that aren't really needed and allows Dan to get momentum with his Volcanion.
Momentum, it allowed me to knock out the
Yeah,
Celebi.
that gives you momentum in itself because it's just offensive pressure and a knockout. So there's that. I think that the team he brought, the Manaphy set was genius. I like that. It stopped him from getting completely dominated by a Volcanion. Scarftar again is a bit of 50-50 because you're going to be relying on Stone Edges to hit mons like Volcanion because you don't want to be locking yourself into EQ. And also it doesn't stop anything from a low pony. You're not taking any HCAKs, no Chople Berry, none of that. And if you wanted rocks, I would have gone with Choppletar, which is what I brought in the mock. But I can't judge
And
him on my
he
performance.
didn't use it for Stealth Rock, so he used it for Stone Edge.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a risky strategy in itself. I just don't see why setup Zard didn't come because all you needed was Declaw and Earthquake versus Dan's team with some residual recovery and with
How's
the right
but
combination.
how's that going to touch my Togekiss though? If I get that thing in, he can't touch me with EQ and Dragon
Yeah,
Claw.
I was about to say with a combination of some other mons to take out the threats, it would have cleaned the late game. But or even Sand. Shout out to Sand knocking out the Togekiss. I know,
No,
I
sad.
know one job. But yeah, I think that's the main thing we both agreed on in this game is the fact that Tone should have probably brought Zardex. And it's a bit interesting the way he's used Zardex in the last 2 weeks. Hopefully he can sort of find his feet using it because it's a very good mon when you can use it properly. So next up we're going to be talking about the Colorado Avalugs. Now this is a very, very interesting team.
That's the boy Fog.
That's the boy
That's
Fog.
Foghorn.
That's the boy Fog. Very, very interesting team. Unfortunately for him, he played up against a replacement. Now,
Adam the Bee's
my man,
Knees.
Adam the Bee's Knees has joined the NPL minors. I don't know if there was any update about this because we missed last week, but unfortunately, due to circumstances that we're all thinking about,
We're all thinking heavily about it, and we keep it in our thoughts that due to personal life reasons that are very tough on all of us, Parker and the Temple
the
Rowlets
Rowlets
had to leave the NPL, and we take it all really hard. We we definitely empathize with Parker in this
in their situation,
hard
but
time.
we don't need
It's
to
hard
go into it
times.
too
We're
much.
not going to go in depth.
Just leave a like for Parker. That's all I'm saying.
Leave a
But
like for Parker, guys.
uh, as we're going, Adam is taking his first week, and he played excellently versus the Colorado. Unfortunately, Foghorn is in this situation where he doesn't know the player who he's playing against. He knows the team, but he doesn't know their style, and I think that kind of hurt him. He brought a very semi-stall team with hoping to sweep with Mega Pinsir, but I think the way that matched up against Adam's team, I didn't think it was that viable, that strategy. The Infinite was right, and then the way he played his Amoongus was pretty good, but it was kind of just a passive sort of switching around on rocks. Dublé got traded in the majors 4 times, and you can see why because of this game. It's not good in league format, in my opinion. It's just a bit sort of, it's there, takes 2 shadow balls, dies kind of thing, and that's exactly what happened in this game.
I mean, that's the thing again. Like that's also always up for debate. It's like a Doublade is like the reverse version of a Chansey because it's very, very physically fat, but as soon as you throw a special hit at it, it just drops. And the same falls for Chansey. Like if you don't have an EV light on Chansey, it just dies to a physical hit. So it's kind of like mixed match. But I feel like Doublade has the potential to be good in if it's like used as the physical wall and not meant to stay in a lot. It's meant more to take hits and not to be on this field.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that is indeed true. But we'll talk more about Adam and the Bees Knees when we come up to it because I actually really enjoyed that game, and and he'll love the fact that I get to compliment him because he's been arguing me about this all week.
Well,
Uh,
what do you have to say about Fog specifically now, his
yeah,
play in pro?
I mean,
Because
Fogg's. I kind of sort of said it. He's kind of just sort of. It was a very sort of standard game where Adam had most of the control. I don't think his prep was necessarily right with the semi-stall team against a team with a lot of offense, like a lot of potential offensive strategies. But I think he was just scared of like the fact that not Manaphy, Jirachi could potentially just rip out his team if he doesn't have the walls that he needed. But uh, I mean, I don't agree with Chansey, Klefki plus Amoongus because you've then got 3 mons of virtually 0 offensive pressure against a team which has a lot of offensive pressure. I think that was the big downfall. But I mean, Fogg's a good player, and I think that he can sort of keep doing semi okay as we carry on. There's not too much that we have to issue with him here. It's kind of just a standard .NET game, really. Not really too much to say about it. But we can jump straight into the AS Rowlet now. Eric,
we have the man who rose from the ashes.
yeah, I was about to say that. Eric is coming back up. And I think you can actually see in all of Eric's leagues if you see it. He's sort of like uh, just took some time to get to know the Gen 7 sort of format and is
Turbo
getting to know
can
his
relate.
way. Yeah. He just taking his time, and he's now coming up. He's coming up good, and he's coming up nice because this game versus Uzi, he was dominant. Like if you want to see a dominant performance.
Let's give a shout out to that Gengar set, the Psyche MC Gengar to take on Mega Venu. That was clean.
That was clean. That was sort of like Uzi was probably sitting there thinking, I can take a shadow ball or I can hit back with something. Nope, Psyche Z. And I mean,
It's like, oh, bye.
if you look at Uzi's team, Salamence would have dropped to that. Electros would not have appreciated it. Let's just say.
And
The
he
least.
couldn't have revenged anything because Gengar would have just smacked it with something else and knocked it out.
Yeah, Heracross is dying. Okay, Bronzong, you're not switching a Bronzong in on a Gengar, and switching a Greninja on a Gengar is extremely bold. So he's hitting something ridiculously hard. So that's great prep. The Mesprit, Eric loves his Mesprit. I've seen him use it before, I'm pretty sure, and he's been using it really well.
Mesprit is really, or Mesprit, I say. Eric is really comfortable with his lower tier mons. Like, I've played Eric a lot in the past from TBU to just regular Wi-Fi. Like, I've known Eric for a long time. And I know that Eric is really, really comfortable with his lower tier mons, and he knows how to utilize them. He's played in PPL very exceptionally with the lower cost Pokemon. Like, the man loves Grottle because he played so well with it in PPL D2.
Yeah, it's nice. I really like the core of Blastoise Arcanine. I don't know why. I've used Blastoise before in League, not Mega,
Blastoise,
but
Blastoise, Arcanine, and Shaman, his Fire Water Grass.
that's just beautiful. I think that Shaman is there. Shaman's so versatile. You can do what you want with it. Arcanine is ridiculously bulky when it needs to be and has great utility.
Oh,
And
trust me, I
he's
can relate. I've mocked Eric in plenty of games, so when he brings the doggo, I can't take it down I just can't.
And then the Blastoise has got the spin, but it also is very offensive. It can be if it needs to be. Arcanine has the recovery, so does Shaman, and Blastoise that will stop. That literally stops Blastoise from getting worn down because that's one of Blastoise's weaknesses. It doesn't have recovery, so it gets easily worn down. He's got two mons with really excellent, reliable recovery, which switch in and soak some hits alongside a Skarmory. Like Eric's team as a balance or the composition is actually really really nice. So
That's how he likes to build his teams.
yeah.
Like he's very on when he drafts as well. Like again, I know I've talked to him a lot. He focuses on getting as many various typings as possible to have a huge pool of coverage to deal with any matchup. Now, I mean, I've managed to deal with that draft, but seems like nobody after him was able to do so.
Yeah, that's yeah, it's
Oh,
nice. It's nice. I'm expecting Eric to do some nice things, pull some wins out in the last couple of weeks. We shall see. But let's jump straight up now into Adam,
the
who's
bee's
been
knees.
literally gagging for me to say these words the entire week because he's been
I'm
DMing me
gonna
on
let you do
Discord.
that. I have to do a number one real quick.
Adam. That's like the dancing for piss, basically. That's what's happened. Shout out to that. But Adam, I really enjoyed Adam's game. Now, Adam's game, he really impressed me because he showed how you can use Raikou really effectively in a league. Now, Raikou is one of those mons that sort of hangs around till round 6, round 7. Not, oh no, probably not round 7. Round 6, you can get it round 6, you can get it round 5, that sort of area. And it's everyone needs a fast electric type, and it's a ridiculously good speed tier with a ridiculously semi-decent move pool. And he just uses it to perfection in this game, where he just spams Thunderbolt when he needs to. I think he has HP Ice on it as well. He also uses, I know for a fact, Adam loves his Jirachi. Adam absolutely loves it. So that as a factor is very, very good too. The fact he's got Jirachi, he's really, really comfortable with it. Mamoswine used as a breaker in this game was really, really effective because the fact that
Where are we at?
I'm just talking about how Mamoswine in the game is really good because Doublade and Clefly don't appreciate it, and neither does Chansey. So that breaks his main, and neither does Amoonguss to some extent. So Mamoswine kind of breaks his defensive core that Fog brought. I just really appreciate the way he used Raikou this week because Raikou, he just used it and showed how much of a value electric type it can be, even though some people look over it and prefer the Thundies. But Raikou's really nice too. Dragonite again, great bring. Great set at the end with Fire MZ as well. And Dragonite has the potential to be a great Zmon, but I don't think people have discovered that yet. So that's really cool. Anything you got to say on this match, Sam? Nope. I'll take that as a no. I don't know where Dan's gone. So next up, we got to talk about the Portland Trail Blazerkins. Now, the Portland Trail Blazerkins this week. I can't hear Dan, but that's fine. That's a bit interesting. The Portland Trail Blazerkins this week. I believe caught the finest of let's find it right now. There we go. Portland Trail Blazerkins caught the finest of 4 O's versus Tampa Bay. Now that is a result. That is a result. It was such a big result. I forgot the result. But this game shows how busted McGinner is. Like, this game is ridiculously busted. Showing how busted McGinner is. I find out what Dan's going. It's because my Discord has crashed. Shout out to that. But yeah, McGinner in this game, like Uzi, the whole game, the Blazerkins are just wearing down Mono's team. And Mono's just sort of soaking it up. He's in slight control. It's just sort of the game's going a bit 50-50 between players and sort of dancing back and forward. And then eventually it gets to the point where okay, we're back in. We are back in. Hopefully we can see Dan because my computer crashed. You'll hear him in a second. Sorry about these technical issues. It's happened before. I've seen it in Verd's power ranking, so you can't slam me for that. I'm joking. If Dan wants to come back, he can, but I don't know what's going to happen. You might hear the Discord noise and then he might come back. But as I'm saying, McGinner just flips this entire game. He sees it. Dan's back.
Why did you die?
Discord went. Shout out to Discord. But anyway, we're still in recording. I never stopped it. So
Oh, okay, cool.
we're talking about how busted McGinner is. right now.
Oh, okay, so we are on Portland Trail. Okay, cool.
So yeah,
So, you know, Andrew, I'm first of all, I want to start off by saying, I know I gave you kind of like smack dog in the beginning of the season when you were first seed, and I said you didn't pick Mega King, and I was like, what are you doing? But I definitely understand why. You see, Magearna is a Pokemon like Mega King, where I mean Mega King hasn't really proven its worth yet, but Magearna, as we've seen in majors by having a Maddie triple 6-0 people with it, we've seen that Magearna is a little bit too good for draft format. And I can say that one of our better coaches, or one of our best coaches, in fact, in the minor season this week. I'm not saying that anybody here is better or worse than anybody, but we have a high level tier kind of where a couple people resigned, which would be Monotui, of course, very known draft player. He got completely screwed by Magearna. Yeah,
yeah.
Magearna is one of those Pokemon that in this current meta, or just in general, the combination of Steel and Fairy, there's a reason why Mawile eventually went to Ubers. I mean, yes, huge power is a thing too, but the Steel Fairy combination is such a great both offensive and defensive typing, considering the fact that Magearna really has no exploitable weakness. Yes, it's slow, but it also has access to Trick Room. It has access to Shift Gear. It can set up on the physical side, the special side. It can set up defenses with like Iron Defense, I think. Like Magearna is so versatile and so strong that it's so I have to say it's broken. And I mean, props to you for using a broken mod well, because I mean, a Pokemon is only as good as the coach makes it. And considering the fact that you absolutely ruined a man that has currently had a flawless record up until this point, props on you for that.
The
But
thing I want
like
to talk about
Magearna
McGinnis one
does.
sec. You said it's so broke. I do agree it is pretty busted. But the thing is with
Give me
McGinnis,
something that stops it.
no, yeah, exactly. But the thing with McGinnis is, it's not that
Case in
kind of
point.
busted where you just send it in and click buttons. It is
No, of course not.
this
That's not
game.
it. Like you
This
have to
game
utilize it.
emphasizes how well you can utilize it because what happens is it's basically a game where about 40 turns it's 6-5 very tight until McGinnis comes in on a mon that it can set up on. Muse the best
Oh,
knows this. He clicks Calm Mind when he can, then gets a kill, then sets up a shift gear and wins the game. Like straight up kills the entirety of Mono's team just after 3 turns where he saw a setup opportunity. Now that takes skill. Don't take away anything from
no,
that.
I'm not
That
taking
takes
away
yeah
anything
yeah.
from
I'm
that.
not saying that. I'm saying that to anyone who's watching. Don't take any way away from the fact my journey is broken. But that takes skill. You'll see that from Matty's games and Muse the best games as well. Like that, and he did it to Verd as well. Like it's not the first time it's happened.
No, that was mono.
Yeah, like it's just ridiculous. Like it's been so close.
Vert played against Fries.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. But
We'll
like,
get to that game later again.
but yeah, like it's no. I mean, earlier in the season, McGinnis did it to Verd. Like Verd almost lost the game because McGinnis set up on him like this, but he managed to deal with it. Mono, unfortunately, his team was sufficiently weakened to the fact it just couldn't deal with it, and that is ridiculous. Like this thing takes an EQ from a Snorlax like it's nothing.
Of course
It's
not. It has
it's,
base 115
it's
defense and
ridiculous.
step
So
and 130 special attack.
So,
Too
shout out
good.
to Muse the best because he played exceptionally just to get it into that point where it just wins the game. He set the game up
Yeah,
perfectly for
Andrew,
himself to win.
you played absolutely immaculate this game, and props to you for taking down a currently flawless team, which I
Yep.
think by this week, I think there's only one left or maybe two.
I
Yeah,
think
I think
it's
there's,
by this week it's 2.
yeah, it's two.
But nothing about next week. But yeah, next up we got Dan himself. Now we've spoken a lot about Dan's game.
I still stand by my previous statement. Why I'm still in second with a or fifth, I mean, my bad, with a 2-2 record is beyond me. But Turbo, I mean, this is obviously your list, so you have a far better explanation for why I am fifth and not, like 12th.
Irrespective of whether Dan agrees with it or not, I've put Dan at number 5 this week because, as I've told you before, there's those top 5 coaches. Now, Dan said he's 2-2. If you look at the 2 losses he's had this season, they're
Verd and
against the
Mono.
top 2 teams in the league. So I'm like, at this point in the season, that is respectable. Like, if you're going to lose to Verd and Mono, that's absolutely, there's no shame in that. In the same way Rotterdam got 6-0 by Verd, there's no shame in that because they are the top teams in the league. And if you get beat by the top teams in the league, it's okay. But Dan is then up there with, he's set himself up there already. Also, he's shown great examples of great prep and play. I loved the Togekiss set. It's a very Dan way of playing. Obviously, I mock him most weeks, so I know kind of how he likes to build and stuff. But I like the sort of complicated forms of setup, which are really nice, that sort of bring into the game, like the Togekiss set. It's a shame it got killed by Sand, because otherwise it would have just nuked all
Right.
over
Right.
Tone's team. Although he was helped by the fact there was no Zardex, and the team that Tone brought was correct, other than Zardex, in my opinion, because I won the game in the mock, so Dan's team was beatable. The fact he had Haze Volcanion, I don't think was exemplified, but I knew it was there because of the mock. He also had...
It wasn't showed because Continental Crush went straight after the Tail Glow. I did click Haze on the turn he went Continental Crush, though.
Which is just great prep on Tone's part. But yeah, there was that. The Cosmic Power Lopunny was very, very good in the matchup because Tone's team doesn't really appreciate when something gets set up defensively on it. And there was the sweeping Rhyperior that you also didn't see, but you might have seen in the Team Builder, which had the potential to just clean out.
The crit Brave Bird that destroyed that sweep.
Yeah,
Again.
yeah, pretty much. That had the potential to just clean out clean out Tone's team once the I believe it was the something rock resist conquered the...
I went on the rock. I went for rock polish on the Crobat, but then you got a crit Brave Bird.
Nice, yeah. So Dan's game's pretty pretty easy, straightforward. It's just great prep. Examples of great prep. He's only lost to the top two teams, and he's in that top bracket still. He's at the bottom nonetheless, but he's still at the top bracket, so that's fine. But next up, we have Tampa Bay. Now, this is the lowest Tampa Bay... Well, there's two Tampa Bay teams. Awkward. Tampa Bay Luxrays. This is the lowest that Mono has dropped. And unfortunately for him, it's literally because... I've said it before in the power rankings. These top five, or these top four, especially the top four, maybe not so much Dan, but the top four are very, very interchangeable.
My bracket.
Rip. But yeah, the top four is just very, very interchangeable. All of them could be ranked first at different issues. It's just the fact that the only one of them to have caught a loss this week was the Tampa Bay, and that's for the fact is that, and then the other three got a 6-0, Gotham won convincingly, and Montreal won a forfeit win, but they were also doing very well up to this point anyway.
And Tampa Bay had a very, like the other Tampa Bay had a very convincing game.
Yeah, so Tampa Bay, so the Luxrays this week, it's unfortunate. The Magina sweep happens. He sort of just... I don't understand his first time play where he basically sacks off his Lankenrock for rocks. Kind of not very nice. He could have brought something that would help combat the Magina a bit more. I mean, it's hard because it's a Magina, and we've already spoken about that. But I mean,
the thing is, if you look at his team, his Magirna answer is not that easy to find, considering Heatran was brought, Zygarde was brought. Like the two things that specifically kind of like deal with it on his team, they were present. And like just generally, it's like I mentioned earlier when we were talking about Portland, what is an answer to Magirna?
Yeah, it's harsh on Mono.
You couldn't answer it because there isn't a proper answer to it, and that was clearly shown this week against such a high tier team that Magirna is a very hard Pokemon, and as you mentioned, with what Portland did and what Andrew did, conditioning Mono's team to set it up for the late game, because I feel like Andrew has gotten a taste of how Mono plays, and he's gotten to like know Mono's playstyle, which allowed him to set up the game late game. And unfortunately, Mono's now been like a little bit known for his playstyle and his more so bulky approach to things, where it allowed Magirna to just hit him hard. So like a tip maybe for this match would have been to have a bit more of an offensive approach, maybe not have brought Lycanroc midday, or at least not tossed it the first turn, because you set up rocks and then you swap into Bulu and then the rocks are spun away and now you have a Lycanroc at 1%.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, just another Monster Lycanroc probably was better game. But, I mean, he couldn't really do much, and it's unfortunate, but he caught the loss out the top four group, so he's got to drop to the bottom of the top four.
It was still a very close and like good game up until Magirna came in.
Like 6-5 for like 40 turns is commendable, like extremely commendable, because it was very, very close. It just happened that the other team...
It just happened that Magirna managed, like Andrew and Magirna managed to condition the team to set up for Magirna to come in and clean up. It's a reason why we call it the sweeper.
So now we got Montreal Habsols with Asta. Obviously, Asta's not going to appreciate the fact I can't give him a long and detailed praise of what he did because he won on a forfeit, but we've already spoken about that. Asta's doing extremely well this season. I expect him to keep going. He's going to be challenging Verd. He's going to be challenging the Gotham City Golux. He's going to be challenging the Tampa Bay Luxrays. And I don't know who else.
He's definitely going to be challenging the Gotham City Golux, but I don't know about the Luxrays and the Frogadiers because they're in a different division.
Yeah, I haven't actually looked at that. I mean, I meant like in
That comes
playoff
down to
contention,
playoffs.
but yeah, that's
Like
that.
in playoff
Yeah,
contention, yeah, he's probably gonna see. I can see boy Aster here meeting Verd and wow, Verd and Mono up in there.
controversial. But yeah, not much to say about Asta. Keep going as he's going because he is playing very, very well.
Keep doing you, buddy.
This is a fun one. This is the first time that the Gotham City Goleks have come off my top spot. They're actually in number 2 this week, and that
Gee, I
is
wonder why.
because I can't stop like marking Verd off and keep putting him lower than like Verd was too good this week. He had to go top, but I'll talk about that in a minute. I'm going to be talking about the game versus FC Populio where the Gotham Goleks got a convincing win. Like, it was a very, very good win, with Slowbro Set absolutely sort of being the core and the center core of his team. Having the coordinate there as well was nice because it matched up pretty, pretty well against Magic's team, as well as the fact that he managed to wear down an Al Malamola, which is quite difficult considering how fat it is. Terrakion kind of sort of wrecked house, but it's a Terrakion, what do you expect? The only reason I dropped him a bit lower is for one of two reasons. Verd got a 6-0.
Verd's Verd's game and Verd's playing
Yeah,
was in general over the play game. I feel like
amazing.
prep was just above, and the game and how it was played out was just above. Like, not to take away from Rob, because Rob, you played an excellent game. It was just you fell a little bit short to Verd's performance this week. And yes, I mean, based on rankings, you played a higher ranked team than
Yeah.
what Verd did. But at the end of the day, you can't deny that Verd's prep and his his matchup and how he dealt with everything against Fries was just top notch.
Yeah, agreed. And then the other small benefactor was the fact that Rob effectively played against 5 Mons. Sorry,
Because
Shadi, because
Rufflet,
of Rufflet. But yeah, I mean, if Magic had bought Rose Raid or
Thundy.
Thundy T and Rob had beaten him, credit to Rob, I probably would have still had the same approach. Like, they probably would have still ranked second because of the fact that Verd was amazing this week. But still, I mean, it doesn't help the fact that he beat a Rufflet. As much as everyone thinks it's amazing. Yeah, shout out to Rob this week. But Rob is fine. Will clinch playoffs very, very soon, I think, in the coming weeks. I think he only has to win 2 games. I think he clinches.
Yeah, because
Don't
he's
quote me on that.
he has one L. No, I mean, yeah, him and Astra kind of in the race with Adam peeking on them. So it's not exactly clinching. They need to play out the season really well to leave Adam and the Bee's Knees behind.
Pretty much. So there's that, and Adam won't want to appreciate that because at the moment, he's always a keen player to make playoffs. So you never know where he's coming from. But
Exactly.
finally, we're gonna end up on my top team.
Nice in
Finally,
Tampa Bay Frogadiers and their coach, the Verd.
yeah, I have found room to put Verd at top spot now.
This
Verd,
week, the Verd was most certainly barbecuing.
yeah, he was barbecuing some being. The best thing was, Verd got a 6-0 sweep without setting up. Now that is ridiculously hard to do.
It was a 6-0 game, but not technically a sweep
Yeah,
per se.
he got a 6-0 game without sweeping. That's what I meant to say. But that's
There we go.
ridiculously hard to do. Like, especially in a league format where things are brought to tech to counter other teams. Mons, different speed tiers as well. That's ridiculously hard. Fries is a good opponent, irrespective of where he is in the power rankings or his record. He did play well and he had some inventive sets. And facing up against nukes like Nido King, Charlie X, and Staraptor plus Latias is hard. Like, they're good Mons in league format, but Verd was amazing. Once the Nido King and the Charizard was gone, irrespective of Electivire, Celesteela is running house on that team. Toxapex is there just to be annoying. Mega Sceptile Verd is using excellently, and he will keep using excellently in the coming weeks, as you will see.
That Rock Slide was shown off perfectly as nice prep to counter Zard, something that Fries even said in his own commentary as well. He was not ready for. He didn't expect a physical Mega Sceptile at all, showing that there's some unfamiliarity with a underused Mega in draft format. And that is something that Verd is very good at exploiting. The fact, like, his knowledge in this game was shown to be just on a whole different level compared to Fries this match. Not saying anything, like, not throwing shots, just the fact that Verd really just knew he had the game in his hands from, like, go. He knew exactly what he was doing. He was comfortable, and Verd has most certainly drafted a team that he has fallen into understanding, and it synergizes really well. And the funny thing, I've talked to Verd, and he just kind of, like, when we were drafting, is like, Oh, that thing is still around round 8. Might as well take Buzzwole. Why not?
Yeah, I'm just looking at Verd's team this week, and it's just ridiculous. He's got 2 electric immunities, a fire resistance, a very very good fire resistance in Marowak, and then Celesteela. And it's like, well, Celesteela's 2 weaknesses are just covered straight up there,
And also
easy.
his and also we got to give some credit to his let's call it Bird's hidden ace card being the Alolan Muck.
Alolan Muck is so good in League format, like it's
Like
ridiculous.
its only weakness to ground and its capabilities of nullifying that by just a single teammate is so incredibly good, and how Bird has been working his team to kind of like you kind of would think it kind of gives the feel of that the fact that the team has kind of been drafted around round 4 Muck because
Yeah.
it synergizes so well with Muck, and you see it come back constantly and doing the work it needs to because the teams are built so well around it.
Poison
And
and dark typing is so good in League format as well. Like poison typing is one of
like
the best typings in League format, and then dark typing,
pri-
every team should have a good dark type. And when put together, you actually get a really good
prior to
defensive
Gen
typing.
7, prior to Gen 7, we had Drapion. Drapion was unique with that typing, I think. Pretty sure.
Yeah,
That
Skunk Tank is the only other
yeah,
one.
Skuntank and Drapion. There we go. Thank you. Those were the only two, and since they like Skuntank and Drapion, they're very good like low tier, but the Muck is like on a whole new level over those two, and it shows itself for being that scary presence, having Poison Touch as well with like Poison
Yeah,
Jab,
poison
Knockoff,
touch
Shadow
plus
Sneak.
like gunk shot. Like gunk shot is as ridiculous. It's like a brave
Gunk
bird.
Shot doesn't count towards Poison, or
Yeah, I know.
Gunk Shot
But
doesn't
I
actually
mean,
count
the fact that you
towards
can throw off a gunk shot plus a knockoff, that's like ridiculous. Best poison type move in the game, plus best dark type move in the game,
Poison.
plus
Yeah,
potential for
thank you, Gen
poison,
6.
plus absorbing toxic spikes, plus technically being a fairy resistant. Like it counters fairies pretty well.
Neutral.
Neutral kind of it's neutral damage,
But
but the damage output is
its
better.
bulk. Its
It's
bulk
yeah.
is just so good that it's capable of dealing with at least very specifically special fairy type like Sylveon, Togekiss, Mega Gardevoir, even to a certain like to a good extent as well.
Pursuit Rest Talk is very viable on Alone
As
Muck.
you've seen, that is a set that Vert has been utilizing very well throughout most weeks now. The Rest Talk would knock off. He's been using that set of Muck really, really well.
So it's
And
it's
he
it's
did it
good.
this week too. He got burned by the Cofagrigus late game, and just to keep the differential up, he rested, went for Calm, and got Curse, and then got Knock.
Yeah, some mons really don't like Rest Talk or don't appreciate it. Muck does. So that's a really good thing to end on. It's like a little hidden gem that's come out of Gen 7 in draft format is a Loner Muck, and that's a really good round sort of 7-8 ish pick that hasn't been picked up yet.
That
Get
happened
Muck.
to go round for this
Yeah,
league.
it's but that's probably because it's new gen hype, but it's
Probably.
just good. Like it's just good. So Verd is using it amazingly. He's probably the best sort of. I think actually no, I tell a lie. Gypsy plus Verd's usage of Alola Muck is ridiculous. Like if you want to see that, like how good it is in league format, watch Gypsy in I don't know what it is,
Majors
majors
and
and
Vert
Verd
here
in
in minors.
minors. Ridiculous. So that's gonna be let's thank Dan first of all, one of the minors
I
coaches.
did I did stuff that I have never PR'd before. Hopefully I didn't cringe you all out too badly.
Yeah, and then me, who hopefully you appreciate the ranking as per. I really appreciate all the support in the comments. I read all of them down below. I do get a chance to reply if I try to reply if I can see them. We'll be seeing Richard back next week, so that's awesome. Make sure you stay tuned for the
I
week
can
5
stay
power
focused
rankings.
on my games.
So make sure you go check out Dan's channel as well. That's gonna be in the minus. I think all the minus coaches in the description. Don't quote me
Yep.
on that. But that's
Pretty
gonna
sure
be
they are. But that's it.
week 5 power rankings out. Say peace.
Bye.